We start the transcript, no problem. So, how are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine. Actually, my university required for registration for interview for as like 7 people, retail store in UK. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to about my topic is investigation drivers and various IoT enabled sensor in the food sector. So IoT enabled sensor basically it's like a enabled sensor are essential part of modernization the food sector offering numerous benefits enhance safety quality and efficiency. So as like food safety, quality control, supply chain transparency and traceability, operation efficiency, predictive maintenance, energy management, cold chain monitoring. Those are the lots of opportunity for IoT enabled sensor in food sector. Okay, and I will talk about my interview question. What are the benefits and objective my sector in IoT enabled sensor? What you mean? How to upgrade my develop in my sector? So now I start my question. So I will ask you some question. Tell me what can according to your reasoning and qualification. So I will ask you first question. So can you hear me?
Yeah, I can perfectly hear you.
Okay. So now I start by my first question. Can you describe the primary factor behind the growing implementation of IoT enabled sensor in the UK food sector?
As you know that I'm Mr. Sagun Singh Soni and I'm a cooperative and my role is an operations manager, right?
Okay, thank you,
So
sir.
I have worked in a lot of different food sectors when I was back in India, and after coming to UK, I have worked for like at least 6 months in one of the warehouses in UK in the food sector. So the few things that I noticed that are different in this country, that the IoT helps in better management of storage conditions. So as you know,
Okay.
that there are different kind of products that are available in the market these days, right? In food industry. So each of them needs a different storage condition. Some needs to be frozen, some needs to be on the room temperature, and some needs to be under like under like 4, right? To
Yeah.
make them last longer and have the freshness as they need to have, right? So Internet Things helps us out in that way a lot. The second thing that I would say is reduction in spoilage and waste. So think about it, like when someone orders like 50 packets of something, right? And sometimes due to some human error it goes like around at like 48 or something. So to reduce and minimize that, uh,
Mm,
Internet of Things helps in that way because it keeps everything in a perfect sense, less spoilage, and as it would link to the first part as well, that as it is kept in room temperature, the spoilage is very less and minimal in that way. The third point that I would like to touch on is optimization in supply chain. Supply chain is one of the biggest parts in food industry right now. It's not just about the markets like the food warehouses, it's about everywhere the food goes. So think about it, all the restaurants, all the the fast food industry and everything, right? The food goes from a warehouse to those particular parts, and the supply chain is one of the biggest things that has an effect in it. So the amount of food that goes from one place to another, is it a perfect amount? It's stored in the right condition, and there are no there are no interceptions in the links and everything, right? Internet of Things has kept it in a very tight knit position, and it has kept it in a very good way. So that's my point.
it's as like a cost reduction, say for reduce waste by monitoring and managing environment condition more effectively. IoT sensor help in significantly reducing food waste. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Next question. Uh, Can you elaborate on the procedure of how IoT technology have upgrade predictive analytic and improve operational efficiency in the food industry? How to use? Can you elaborate me?
So just take for example, like to predict predict how much food and where the food is needed. So take for example, usually in a week, the food is not needed as much as it is on a weekend, right? And then for some reasons, there are like different concerts that happen all over the place, right?
Yeah.
So the thing is, like, how much food is needed from the warehouse to go into a different shop and how much food is going to be sold depends upon if there are any events in a week or if it's a weekend, if it's a bank holiday. So all of this needs to be predicted, right? So Internet of Things helps us predict everything in advance to let us know how much do we need stuff in stock and how much needs to be given out in a different to different stations and different places, right? So it helps us forecast how much food needs to be produced and how much it needs to be sold, right? The second is inventory optimization. Now, as you see, we can predict where the food is going and how much the food is needed as per every single day, right? Now, if you keep a lot of stock in one place, or if you get less stock for a particular place, and it turns out to be a different case, like sold a lot of stock, and then or you didn't even sell anything, so it's going to lead to either being overstocked or totally going stock out, right? So to keep that into mind, Internet of Things helps us in that way that we never run out of stock or we never overstock ourselves, which in turn will help us minimize our wastage and will keep everything fresh.
Yeah, okay. As like enhanced decision making, I know
Yeah,
is process automation and quality assurance, resource management and agriculture, real-time data gathering, energy efficiency. It's like more developed our sector in UK in IoT enabled sensor in food sector. Okay,
absolutely. Yeah,
so thanks for answer. So next question I'll ask you.
yeah.
Okay, wait. Give me a second. I'll ask you. Wait. Just third question, please state how an IoT-enabled sensor has successfully refined food safety and maintained food quality throughout the supply chain management.
Okay, so you're basically talking about kind of like an environmental control. Am I right?
Yeah, yeah. Environment control. It's
So
sustainability. Like
yeah, so in a sense, I'm just going to take one more example to explain this. So if you're keeping like a food that is gonna be just frozen and you can't bring it below like a certain point, like in UK, the standards are like minus 12 to minus 18, right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
keep a
yeah.
food,
-5 or to -10
yeah,
in
around
UK food. Yeah, the temperature.
yeah, around that area.
Yeah, yeah.
So if by chance the food isn't up to temperature, that is -5 to minus 12, right? So for
Yeah.
place that I worked at, it usually was minus 12 to minus 18 around that place. So what if the food is not up to that temperature? So food is not minus 12 to minus 18. So then it's not usable, right? It's going to go to waste. And then the food quality and the food safety is a very big hazard then, right? Because you can't serve that food or you can't just give that food to a different restaurants or companies, right? So that has a really, really big effect to control the temperature. to preserve the food and keep its freshness to last for as long as possible. And it's not just to keep the food in a perfect temperature, even when you use a supply chain. So by in this sense, what I mean is to transport the food from one place to another, right? You need to keep the food in a perfect condition that is under minus 12 to minus 18, right? So if that is not up to par, while reaching the place, the food's gonna go to waste. So what's the point, right? So this keeps it. This thing keeps everything in check to keep the food under good conditions, and then preserving its quality and meeting up to the safety standards of what the food should be. So it has a very, very big role. It can predict and it can keep that in mind. And this, so if by chance, like sometimes there can be, I'm not saying that there are gonna be human errors, but there can be some human errors, right? And the food goes all to waste, like by mistake, a person putting in -1 instead of -12, right? It can happen. So, but if we use internal things, that's not gonna happen. It's gonna be perfectly set at -12 to -18 every single day. So that's what I mean. Like it keeps food safe and maintain its food quality over a few.
I understand. I think your environment and quality issue for food
Yeah.
temperature for in food sector.
Yeah.
So I think it's a continuous environment is monitoring
Yeah.
and the regulatory compliance and automation documentations, predictive quality control, dynamic shelf life management. It's like more objective for food industry in IoT sensor for develop in our country like UK and other country USA say for.
Yeah.
So it's a good decision for in this sector. So our country UK so use the software technology for better opportunity is a food waste, temperature, hygiene, and customer satisfaction.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So now, a fourth question is what are the major barriers and organization in the UK food industry have usually confronted and during the development of IoT technology? Did you get it?
Uh, are you talking about the
It's complexity of implementation.
oh, you're talking about that area. Okay, okay, I get it now. So it's not easy to implement IoT everywhere and in a very fast way because you need to focus on every single aspect of a warehouse. It's not just the production line, right? Where you pack food or where you make the food, right? So it's everywhere in a warehouse. Even the supply chain that we were talking about earlier, right? To supply from one place to another, that also needs an implementation of IoT. It's not just one particular part of a warehouse. It's supposed to be everywhere, and it's not easy to do that. It takes a lot of time to do that, but once you do it, it's gonna be a very, very easy and very, very good implementation of stuff. It's, how should I say, it's like it's very complex putting it in place, but once you do it, it really helps us. And to put it on in a various stages of supply chain is one of the most difficult parts.
I think it's barriers is problem is a high initial cost, technical
Yeah,
challenge,
exactly.
data security and privacy concern, and
Yeah.
lack of skill workforce, connectivity issue. It's lots of issue. After
Yeah.
challenge the issue, maybe is a more research than IoT sector. But
Yeah.
I mean is part to part developed in sector is IoT sector. After all, the satisfy of develop the country most of the big country in food sector.
Yeah. True.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I have last question.
Mm-hmm.
So can you state the impact of data security concern and high implementation cost on the integration of IoT-enabled sensor in the food sector? Increase complexity. Yes. Okay.
So you're mainly talking about data security and high implementations cost, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
As you said in the last question, anyways, right? While you're explaining what it meant, right? I totally agree with you that it has a very, very high implementation cost. The first initial cost of implementing it is way too high. That's the thing, implementing it is not in just one sector of supply chain. It's not just a production line, or it's not just the supply chain part of it, right? It's everywhere. You need to implement it in every part of that thing. It's not just one part of the food chain. The other thing is keeping it in security. So so it's just all the security updates, and you need to monitor it that it doesn't go bad, or it doesn't just there are no bugs in the security system or something. Because if it happens, then everything will crumble. It's not just one part. It will affect various stages. If one security falls through, it will have an impact on every other stage of that supply chain. So to maintain it is also a very, very high cost, because it's a technology that needs a lot of security. And then implementation cost is really, really high. So yeah, it's it's a new technology in food sector, and we need to have a high implementation cost and security cost that we need to figure out right now.
In a summary, I just add to the summary.
Yeah.
This data security concern and high implementation cost is present significant challenge is to the integration of IoT-enabled sensor in the food sector. This issue can higher adaptation rate, increase the operational cost, and create barriers to innovation and competitive advantage.
Yeah.
Addressing this challenge required careful planning, investment, and cybersecurity strategies, financial management. I think this issue I fix the problem. Okay.
Yeah,
I- I-
this will fix the problem. Yeah.
So last of all, I question you, but I mean, so explain to me what kind of role consumer can benefit from enable sensor in the e-commerce logistic last mile delivery. Is it? I think is consumer benefit for IoT enable sensor for food sector. It's last
Yeah.
mile delivery. It's a delivery just to receive the product, the customer. What the benefit of customer? Can you
So
explain that?
So the benefits that a consumer is going to have is, so the first main thing is, no one's going to run out of food that is going to be given out, right? As it's going to be like a optimized supply chain. So you're not going to run out of food. You're not going to have shortages of food, or you're not going to have overstacking, right? The other part is you're going to get fresh food and food on time.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's
It's a
the
fresh food
main.
and quality assured, hygiene maintains,
Yeah.
means and weight loss is a customer need to 20 kilo. It's a 20 kilo. So customer
The
needs
item,
and
yeah.
is satisfied. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So those are the main things that's going to benefit the customer in the long run, and it will really, really affect this food industry in a very, very good way. That's what my point is.
So now I leave the session for interview. Thanks for chance for me interview my question and answer me for develop our IoT enabled sensing in food sector. For my so I am challenging my research and paper. So I developed the research paper, and after the successfully I hopefully I understand the my teacher's paper. So thank you for give me opportunity for chance me interview. Thank you, sir. Good evening. Okay.
Good
Thank
evening.
you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.